Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Monday, July 14th, 2025. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free through the tireless efforts of Dr. Michael and Jeannie Rice on the website at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the two words that say Start Here in the upper left-hand corner, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Rice's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of the book contains a narrative description and explanation of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet. And it's a tool I've been using to great effect for over 20 years now to improve the quality of my life and most of my relationships, and to turn any negative emotional experience I have into part of the infallible guidance system that each and every one of us has been given. You can also download the actual worksheet process itself. It's a simple PDF file. Click the link, download it, print it off, copy it as often as you'd like, and use it over and over again absolutely free. You can also download a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one where people have been stepped through the worksheet process. And if you choose to listen to them even repeatedly, they can serve as a powerful tutorial for you to help you get maximum benefit from these tools in the shortest amount of time possible. You can also go to your app store and type in the three words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. And if you choose to do that before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. If you tap on it, it will let you download a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet. It contains an abbreviated version of that worksheet process, and it contains a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. We hope people do all of that soon and often, primarily because it tends to improve the quality of people's lives the more they actively apply these tools in their lives. And secondarily, because it tends to prompt comments, questions, answers, and testimonials. If you have any of those to share with us, we'd appreciate if you did that you can email me at tjh@mindshifters-academy.org, or you can email Jeannie at jeanie@whyagain.org. That's whyagain.org. And if we get a question or a comment from you, we'll address it on the internet show, and then as time allows, send you a notification about what day and time that occurred, so you can listen back to the archives for your feedback or input. And the alternative is you can join us live. You can open up a Zoom tab on your browser window, or you can use one of the many phone numbers that Zoom makes available. And then you can enter our meeting ID number. Our meeting ID number is 853-2357-4173. That's 853-2357-4173. And again, we appreciate whenever anybody does that, because it just makes it so much easier for us to live into our intention with this work. The intention we have with this work is to be of service. So how can we be of service in your life, or in your learning of the use of these tools, or in the direct application of one or more of these tools to a situation in your life? I completely spaced out and didn't let people know that I wasn't going to be here on Friday. So to those of you who are here or sitting through Friday's silence, apologies. I had to go to or had to take part in a 2-hour video deposition for a court case. So those are always interesting, never what people plan them to be. I don't know anybody who enjoys having to deal with the legal situation, the legal system, and attorneys, but use of the tools is highly recommended. I have tremendously benefited over the years from recognizing that if I'm going to be doing something like that, I have to be monitoring my negative thoughts because they're going to be there. It's like, I forget which book I was reading where they talked about how when you take an action, brace yourself because your mind is about to complain that you shouldn't be doing that. You don't know how to do it. It's too complicated for you. What if you get it wrong, etc. And that willingness to just understand, oh, this is just that automatic part of my mind. This is just that younger wounded child part of me. I don't need to let it run my life right now. So if I understand that my negative thoughts are by definition inaccurate, at best only partially true, and often completely false, then I can practice softening that part of me that desperately wants to be right or desperately wants to have all the answers or thinks that the only way for it to feel safe is to be better than somebody else or to have put down somebody else. And if I'm in observer mode, I can just watch those thoughts and have a little chuckle at them and recognize it can't be accurate if it's negative. And if it's negative and it has information for me that is necessary in the moment for me to take action to keep myself or the people I love physically safe, I don't spend the time and the energy in the emotional state. I just take an action. And if I'm acting from that calm, centered, creative, connected, compassionate space, it's going to be fine. But if I'm sitting and spinning in thought or negative emotion, it's the opposite of fine. It's keeping myself spinning or circling the drain, so to speak. So we are here with plenty of time for conversation. And I think I got a little distracted there. I was thinking about the various things I did and the tools I used leading up to this deposition, the EFT tapping, the heart math little device, a little 10-minute breathing meditation with heart math before the deposition. The fact that even sitting in the deposition, I could easily do the shortcut for the EFT tapping, which I do on a regular basis, which is just to rub the ends of my fingers or massage my fingers as I do that parasympathetic inducing breathing, which is to comfortably fill my lungs and then resist the exhale so that it takes 2 or 3 times longer to empty my lungs than it did to fill them. And as I breathe and soften and just visualize releasing the energy or tension or stress, I probably rub my fingers like this throughout half or 3/4 of that deposition interview. And at this stage of the game, I can't tell you, is it just an old habit that, it just brings about some simple comforting, like sucking one's thumb or drumming your fingers on the table? I don't know. Is there something more to it? It feels really beneficial to me whenever there's upset. And maybe right now it's simply because I've paired it enough with that calming breath and the thoughts that whatever's negative that I'm feeling, whether it's a tension or a tightness or an emotional energy, I can let it go. I can just breathe and soften, allow it to be there, and let it flow through me without tightening, without tensing, without this feeding the conclusion that something's bad or wrong here. Because if I'm feeding a conclusion that something is bad or wrong, I've gone into judgment. I'm now going to be distorting my perception even more intensely, and I'm creating a need for more of this process that we call forgiveness moving into the future, which is the dismantling of the energies that I've used to identify with or pour attachment energies into a particular outcome or a particular pattern of thought, etc. If I can recognize that the tightness or the tension is best used by me as the warning signal that it's time to breathe and soften, that it's time to recognize that the flow of life is not what's wrong here. My judgment of it, my lack of willingness to contribute lovingly in the moment, that may be wrong, but life isn't wrong. So again, the invitation is to unmute and speak up. Even if I seem to be in the middle of a monologue or in the middle of reading something, the encouragement is please participate as you are moved to participate and assist us by letting us know how we can assist you most efficiently. In lieu of someone raising a hand,
Tim,
yes,
I didn't know there was a hand to raise. I had unmuted.
that's all right.
Yeah.
That's all you do, just unmute and speak up.
Okay. Good morning.
Hello.
And something that you said, I'm really struggling with enabling an adult child. And you were saying like if it causes stress, right, that it's wrong. So
Okay, all right. So hold on a minute. You said, I'm struggling with enabling an adult child. I don't know what you mean by that. So before we go any further, you have to describe for me what you're talking about.
um
You're
a,
you're
a 30
already enabling an adult child and you don't want to, or you're afraid that you might be accidentally? What do you mean? I'm struggling with enabling.
Okay. So she has been enabled for numerous years. She's 40 years old. She'll be 40 years old in September, and she's still unable to take care of herself. I haven't been involved in the enabling for much of her life, but I'm like seeing this clearly that this is destroying her, and I'm finding it very difficult to stop, but it's uncomfortable either way.
So what's your
It,
relationship to this person?
my stepdaughter.
Okay. And so what you're saying is you have seen her be treated in a way that you would say is enabling,
Yes.
right? And
And
you've
I
seen
have,
her be treated that way from others. And are you saying that you have also recognized you've enabled her?
yes. So we have allowed her to come live with us in the past and didn't charge rent or anything like that. We've allowed her to return, and she has been told that it wouldn't be a long-term situation, but she hasn't been saving her money and drinking a lot of alcohol. And it's so hard to not help her, and we're not going to be here forever. It's so difficult, and yet we also know that continuing to support her poor decisions is actually destroying her. And
Well,
but it
no,
doesn't
it's
it
not destroying
doesn't
her,
just
but it's not assisting. I mean,
okay,
she's choosing what she's choosing.
right.
You can do everything right by the book and still have a child who says, "Nope, I'm not signing up for this. I'm gonna, you know, get dragged kicking and screaming into a different kind of life." So it isn't about blame. So, what's the question you have for me?
Well, you had said that if it doesn't feel good, that it's not coming from the right place, but in this situation, neither one feels good.
That
Ne-
if what doesn't feel good, it's not coming from the right place. What are you referring to? That
I,
whatever one is doing,
no, I thought you had said, like, with our actions when you were talking about the court thing and everything, that we know that it's coming from the right place, from the wrong place, if we don't feel good about it. And in this situation, I don't feel good about any of it. Like, I tried to stay in a place of love and encouraging and do things to be helpful. And when somebody won't do things to help themselves, I I I am a person who really likes to help people. I'm learning at this point that it has been to their detriment. And it's uncomfortable either way because it doesn't feel like love, the tough love thing. It doesn't feel like it's coming from love, but neither does when you have the knowledge that helping can be hurtful. And that doesn't feel right either. How do you know which way to go? Like, I keep praying about it and I just feel really stuck.
well, in this work, the important thing to do is just keep using the tools so that you're removing the negative emotions that you're experiencing. So you don't keep generating those negative emotions because those negative emotional states are not going to assist you in perceiving the world more accurately so you can make a better decision. Right? This is not about hedonism. This isn't about I only want to feel pleasure. That's not it. It's just about how if I'm feeling something less than pleasure, loving, etc., what should I do with it? What's the best use I can make of that awareness within me? And what we offer in this work is that the best use I can make of any tightness or tension or discomfort within me is to use it to get myself to turn the focus back on myself, right? You might say this is literally what was being asked of us from the scriptures where it says repent, because it meant to turn around, turn and look inside. Quit looking outside of you for the problems and answers in your life. Understand it's all an inside job. So you may end up doing something like the thing that just flashed in my mind was the time my older son decided to tell everybody, including the police and the judges and everybody else, to heck with you, I don't have to live by your rules. And then he got arrested. And he wanted me to bail him out. And I wouldn't bail him out because I'd told him for years, I'm not going to bail you out. If you keep doing this kind of thing, you're going to be on your own. Now, I went to see him at a jailing facility. I don't even know if he was in the facility. It was on a video call kind of thing. And it was not fun or anything like it. And it was not anything like easy to say to him as he sat there in jail, I'm not going to bail you out. So maybe I misspoke, or maybe you misheard something I said, but I'm not saying that everything is always going to feel great. What we do with our awareness of our tightness, our tension, our negative emotional states, when this doesn't feel great, that's what's the key learning in this work. Can
Yeah,
I
and I've
do the next right thing even if it's very difficult to do?
so what I've been doing as the next right thing is worksheets and tapping and Ho'oponopono and like daily, sometimes all day long, and I'm not there's just no peace in any, like it feels like a catch 22. There's no peace either way.
Well, what do you mean no peace?
Um being comfortable with with the decision and knowing that the decision is the right thing to do. So how I'm interpreting what you're saying is to just, and maybe I'm really wrong here, is to just continue to do the work before making any kind of decisions.
Well, the ones that you don't need to make, right? I mean, there's certain things happen, and I had to make a decision because we're in court, or or we're
Gotcha.
at the jail facility. I had to make a decision: do I bail them out or not? No, and it didn't feel, like this is, oh, gee, this is great, this is fun, this is the perfect thing to do. But it felt like, yeah, this is the right thing to do because it's what I've always said, and it's the kind of follow through that my parents did with me, and this really sucks. This is very, very difficult watching my son, cry and be terrified, and yet it was the right thing to do. And I had done enough of my own work to understand it is the right thing to do. So the first thing before making any critical decisions that don't have to be made in the moment is to dissipate the negative emotional state. And we have the tools to do that, whether it's the reality management worksheet or the EFT tapping or the combination of those two or the targeted journaling that Michael calls the mind shifter tool. You can use those tools to dissipate the negative emotional states. And then everything looks different. when you're not looking through the filter of fear or anger or hurt or, frustration or deep grief, everything's going to look differently when you're not looking through those intensely distorting emotional filters.
Right. I
So you might end up doing the same thing, but feeling very, very, very differently about it, or you might end up doing something very, very different.
Yeah, I just keep going back. It's like I'll be settled with something and then I'm not. And then I am again and then I'm not. Like I'm not. It's like it's all an intellectual thing that's going on in me. It's not an intuitive thing. So, um, in that case, I guess I just need to do nothing
Or
and wait
actively work
until.
to dissipate the negative emotions.
Well, I mean that, but as far as any kind of decisions, because like you said, that when you were presented with it with your son, it was an immediate decision that you had to make. Right. And this is not an immediate, this is not a necessity right now. Okay.
And yet you can generate a significant amount of internal pressure or emotion and make it seem like it's really, really critical for right now.
Right. That's what I got from that was that I'm making it critical when it's actually not. That makes sense.
The
Because
biggest thing
yeah, because
is,
I've always said the same thing about if my son ended up in jail, I said I'd bail him out once, depending on the circumstance, and then I would never do it again. But it gets more complicated when it's not your child, you know. So there's no urgency right now. Thank you so much.
well, you're welcome. And I think, the thing that just strikes me about this part of the conversation, your questions, answers, is the idea that there's these two critical things. One of them is if I can wake up and realize that I'm the one creating whatever emotion I experience, that's enormous. That's just enormous. And then the next thing is, can I actively practice and undo this kind of passionate obsession, almost addiction we have to be right? Can I recite that forgiveness pattern enough where I say over and over and over again, I cancel my need to be right. I cancel my need for anyone or anything else to change, including myself. That's a critical piece here
Yeah.
that kind of clears the space for me to look at things very differently.
And
But
yes, sorry, go ahead.
but if I'm like a pit bull with a bone and I'm just, no, I'm right, I know I'm right, then nothing opens up, nothing shifts. I can't see anything differently.
Right. And my mind goes, but the research clearly shows, and that's not where I need to be. So it is. The research really shows that the research shows this. Therefore, I'm right about this, and I need to let that one go
Well,
because the
but being right
research
about
isn't
that,
necessarily the
but
research doesn't necessarily pertain to each and every person.
well, but not only that, but being right about that and having $7 in your pocket means you can go buy a bag of organic carrots.
Maybe depends on where you are.
But the point is, being right about it doesn't
I
get you anything except frustration.
Right. No,
You're being right about it doesn't change the life situation. And so the other, the third piece, if you wanted to put one in there, would be about how blame is completely useless. So we're not blaming you, we're not blaming your stepdaughter, we're not blaming the courts, we're just saying, look, this is what's happening. Blame isn't going to help us resolve anything. So let's step aside from the blame game into something more reasonable. At least has a chance of being productive. So
okay. I don't see how I'm blaming, but that's I can
well,
work around that too.
there were several statements in your presentation. If you went back, you'd hear them. And it's normal as breathing for most of us in this culture to blame. But again, it doesn't do any good to blame. It never leads to the productive or constructive resolution to a problem whenever I'm engaging in blame. So whether I'm blaming my stepdaughter for getting in the mess she's in, or I'm blaming myself for enabling her, or I'm blaming someone else for enabling her,
Okay.
none of it benefits anybody.
Right.
I just, I would advocate for a position that says, look, here's what's been going on. Here's what I've done about it in the past. Here's what people want me to do now. Here's what I'm willing to do. I hope everybody has a nice life. Right? Like I can't control the outcome. I can't control what other people think. And yet I'm going to actively work to do it differently than I've been doing it in the past. Because what I've done in the past hasn't helped me get the results I'm looking for. So when I did the situation, the steps I took with my son, I didn't have any guarantee that everything is going to work out just fine. But I stayed true to what I had been raised with and what I had always told him I would do, and I just let the chips fall where they may.
Okay. I gotcha. I'm pretty clear on um my side of the street and and the work that I need to do. Um, which is what I've been doing, but you put it in a different light, so maybe something else will come up with that next worksheet. Thank you.
You're very welcome
I
and
appreciate it.
deserving. Good questions. Thanks for the call.
Hmm.
And we have plenty more time for comments or questions if that raised any thoughts for somebody. Just as Cammie was beginning to talk, I was beginning to take a look at the book A Walk in the Physical by Christian Sundberg, and we're nearing the end of that book, and the questions and answers section he calls part 3. And I don't believe we've read this one, but he's got a category of the nature of people. And the first question in that grouping is, I see greed and selfishness everywhere. People are just so mean to each other. Is this not evidence that we're bad and sinful creatures? And Christian writes, we all have a lot of fear, that which is yet to be evolved within us. And where there is fear, there is ego and all of the ego's workings. Yet the true nature of every single person is one of love, even as we seem to become lost in the illusion of separation for a while. Every person is a part of God, light, love, all that is. Meanwhile, we see in the world what we believe about the world. So sometimes the way the world appears to us is more of a reflection of us. He writes in parentheses, what we are and what we believe, close parentheses. But it's more of a reflection of us than it is an accurate view of the world itself. And this is why so many of these great teachings say, listen, instead of trying to change what you're looking at, change what is looking, change who is looking, change the filter you're using to create your perception. The next question is, it sometimes seems that people never change and their faults remain with them for a lifetime. Why is that? Christian writes, our fear yet runs deep, and so the ego remains strong. Thus, it can sometimes take many experiences, sometimes even many lifetimes, for us to work through our fear. We are all always working with and through our own imperfection. Regardless of how much physical time that process may appear to take, and while the road may be long and winding, all are naturally working through their experience, which facilitates the evolution toward love in one form or another. And he writes in parentheses, whether they're consciously aware of it while they're human or not. So in other words, there's a lot more going on here than you know about. There's a lot more going on here than I or anybody else knows about. You know, on the one hand, we've got people who are getting into road rage incidents out in the as they're driving around on the highway because, you know, the people driving around them didn't know that they bought the road and they own the road. And everything that they think should be done on the road is the only thing that should happen on the road. Meanwhile, we've got other people who think, hey, I don't like the way that country drew its boundaries. I want to take some of that country for my country. At the same time that's happening, there are theoretical physicists that are drawing up hypotheses about how maybe our universe is inside a black hole. What's the point? The point is I can get myself all kinds of ramped up, emotionally involved, angry, bitter, defensive, etc., over anything. The traffic, a road rage incident, an argument about theoretical physics. But we don't encourage it. What we encourage is removing the processes we've engaged in that are creating the negative emotional states that we say we don't want. And it's all going to work out eventually. Now, there are some people, especially in a different spiritual schools, who really don't like that when somebody has a message that says, listen, it's all going to work out. But this last answer from Christian has that as part of the answer. It says, listen, all of us are naturally working through our experience, which facilitates the evolution toward love. That's happening. Everything is evolving towards love in one way or another, whether we're consciously aware of it or not. The next question he asks is, or tries to answer is, why do people need to be atheists, or in parentheses, or have any other religious or non-religious affiliation? Close parentheses. This is the question. Christian writes, the question is a bit like saying, why do people need to come to their own conclusions? Or why do people need to respond in ego? The conclusions people reach are not the truth of that person's being. Right? My thoughts about myself are not the same as myself. The word is not the thing. This is true even if the subject of their conclusions concerns whether God exists or not. The truth of our being transcends the forms and the context of our world. In other words, forms include thoughts and words. The truth of our being transcends our thoughts and our words, and everything about form, and everything about the context of our world, and all of our personal conclusions about the world. Christian writes, God, in parentheses, capital S, source, close parentheses. Source is absolutely real. In fact, it's more real than the dream of earthly life. Why then should we lament when the dreamer goes along with the dream, which itself occurs inseparably within God's unconditional love? So everything that's happening is unfolding within consciousness. Consciousness is holding it all. And at different level of scales, some things look like they're a big mess, and other level of scale, everything's going beautifully. Hard to imagine when you've got a tiny little part of the picture you're looking at and you don't like what it's showing you. So someone's unmuted. Is this Celinda? Are you looking for a way to comment?
Yes, I'm looking for a worksheet. I was hoping you'd do a worksheet with me. A quick one, like maybe a mental short form or something, because I just have been noticing that whenever I have to say goodbye to someone, or whenever I anticipate that they're going to move away, or where I won't be able to visit with them physically, I get all choked up. And so I thought maybe you could do that if you feel like it.
All right. Well, the mental short version of the reality management worksheet that's available
or we could do the 7-step. It doesn't matter.
No, we don't have time for that. But this mental short version is available on the mindshiftersacademy.org website on the educational materials page.
Right.
And it's there as a PDF, and the forgiveness pattern is there as a PDF, and it's also the forgiveness pattern is there as an MP3. So,
right.
So here you are Celinda, and you are feeling what emotion?
Grief.
Okay, so you put the grief in there, and then take a breath, and then what's the thought you're using to create this sadness, this grief?
I will never see Laura again.
Okay, so you breathe into that. And the third step is you take a look at what's the goal that's contained in that thought that's not getting met.
I want Laura to stay living near me.
Yeah, there you go. You want to maintain your free and easy access to this person.
Yes.
So breathe into that. And soften. And then get ready to do this forgiveness pattern. I tell people I often like to put my hand over my heart space, close my eyes, and just breathe and soften. And just gently, silently inside your own mind, say what I'm going to say out loud. I cancel my need to be right. I cancel my need for anyone or anything to change, including myself. I specifically cancel my goal in this worksheet. And I ask to be shown the hidden part of my own mind that's actually creating this upset. And then just breathe and soften and put yourself in the most open, allowing space you can, where any thought, any image, any physical sensation, any emotion that bubbles up, you recognize it as part of what you need to see to begin to heal here and move forward. Just breathe and soften and stay with that, gently repeating, I cancel my need to be right. I cancel my need for anyone or anything to change, including myself. I specifically cancel my goal in this worksheet. And I ask to be shown the hidden part of my own mind that's actually creating this upset. And stay with that
It's
until you
just,
feel something shift or fade. What do you get?
I'm having a hard time just breathing. It's big stuff.
Big stuff. So I would encourage people, if you're having a hard time breathing, that you just try to focus on the breath and maybe do some of the EFT tapping or the finger rubbing. And breathe and soften and just allow that energy to be there. And just notice what you feel. How old do you feel when you say I have difficulty breathing?
Really, really young, and also when my husband died.
Okay, so if you feel really young and also the age when your husband died, that means there's, the tendrils of whatever was going on when you were really young got reactivated or solidified when your husband died. So I would encourage you to be willing to do some EFT tapping sessions and or worksheets on both of those. This younger self, really young, what was going on when you were really young that would leave you feeling so grief-stricken about abandonment or about a thought of being abandoned?
Being taken away from my father's side of the family.
Okay, so some more worksheets on that. That's clearly one of those 77 times 70 worksheet issues for you.
And my husband, because everything was so perfect, I was being nurtured. I was being appreciated and approved of, and allowed and accepted. He was gone, and I had to be a mother of a little child I didn't know how to raise, because I was only a little kid myself.
So just breathe into these energies and thoughts. And just notice the part of you that wants to think maybe you shouldn't be crying or maybe you're supposed to be done with this, and just kind of, take a loving approach to that and say, well, that's a nice, we'll be done with this eventually, but if there's more tears to cry, we're just going to let them come. And just soften. Notice any tendency to judge yourself as bad or wrong because you're still having these strong emotions about things that essentially have happened many years ago. And just soften and allow. And then notice what you're aware of next.
That I keep attaching them to all my relationships.
That you keep what?
That I attaching those feelings to all my current relationships.
Okay.
About, especially around someone leaving. It doesn't matter whether there's my son leaving to go to Hawaii or my daughter refusing to be with me in any way, or it doesn't matter, or someone moving away permanently.
They all seem to spark the same intensity of upset?
Yeah, because I
Okay.
care for all of them so much.
Well, no, not because you care for all of them so much, but because this energy of the trauma from your youth has gotten associated with that. And so you now think, oh, the more I cry about this, that means the more I love them. So just breathe into this and start questioning. Remember, the forgiveness pattern has us practicing this, the art of deconditioning ourselves from this passion to be right or this craving to be right. So I don't know why. but this is what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And
But
let
it's
it be what it is.
it's sort of connected to being saved. Does that make any sense? Will someone come rescue me, please? By staying near me? That probably doesn't make any sense either.
Well, but it's a thought. So you'll let the thought be there and you'll explore it. And you'll explore it with other worksheets or other journaling. But again, when you say, well, that probably doesn't make any sense either, there's that part of your mind that's trying to get it right, trying to figure it out. So just let it be. Paul McCartney. Just let it be. So if you breathe and soften, what are you noticing you're feeling now?
Well, I was flashing on a movie with Danny DeVito in it, where he ends up teaching these recruits that are going to wash out of the Army. Can't think of the name of it at the moment. But that was a very profound movie. It triggered when you said "Let It Be" and Paul McCartney, because that was the message of the movie. Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. I'll think
All right.
of it.
So what else are you feeling right now? If you took a breath and were to rate your upset level, how strong would the grief or the upset from the original worksheet be?
Well, I can breathe now. And I would probably say the original was about a 10. I would probably say this is about a 4.
Okay.
Because I'm still kind of tremoring.
Okay, but now think about it. You've got, worksheets that you could agree to do on this much younger self getting taken away from dad's side of the family and or your older self with the news that your husband died. And to good effect, you could keep doing worksheets on the sadness or any other emotion, the anger, the hurt, the confusion that comes to mind when you think of those events.
And I shall think of that Renaissance Man. That was the movie. I shall, maybe I'll watch it again. Because that was the whole message at the end. It was character development, and it was let it be. It was just like, it's all good. It's what you were saying, what Christian Sundberg is saying, and what Lauda said.
All right.
Oh, it's all good. What a relief. I'll do those worksheets. I have to get more copies of the short version. That's my favorite. I don't get lost in it.
All right. Well, keep breathing and recognizing it's perfectly okay for this energy to be there and that it is basically just an invitation for you to start exploring some of these negative beliefs you've been carrying around and letting yourself open them up and start questioning them anew.
Thank you.
You're very welcome and deserving. I'll mute you so you can listen into the final part of the show. It's just a few minutes left. I'm not inclined to go back to reading anymore from the Christian Sundberg book. I did have a thought that I would mention today that I'm going back through the book now. I've read a book, and as soon as I read it, it was so spot on and so much like everything else that I teach, and it resonated with me that I decided to send a copy of the book to each of my sons. And that book is titled Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Chamine. Shirzad is his first name, and Chamine, Chamine, is his last name. And I'm going through that book again because it was just so similar to what we teach. Clearly, there has lots and lots of source material that I've been introduced to over the years has to be very, very similar to the source material that Shirzad was using. But there are just little gems, right? It's not, there's a part of me that thinks, gee, wouldn't it be great if I could get a hold of him and he'd be willing to add the worksheet process to what he already does, which is so similar in terms of talking about your sage, your wise inner, connection to source and all that is. That's what he refers to as your sage. And then your saboteurs, all these other parts of you that jump into perfectionism or defensiveness or the judge. The biggest one for most of us is to judge or compare ourselves to other people or situations. And so I just want to, again, mention that book as a strong recommendation, just a slightly different perspective. And what they're finding is, and he's got clearly has an anchoring in the somatic therapies and the body focused awareness that you can do in therapy, because the exercises for improving your positive intelligence quotient are so simple, and they're so simply shifting the focus of your attention onto your physical being, the weight of your back against the chair, the temperature of the air on your face, etc. And for 10 seconds at a time, doing that builds the part of your brain that can tap into wisdom, that shifts out of the fight or flight mode, that has the ability to plan and the ability to be creative. And so just another reminder about that recommendation. The book is Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Chamine. And that'll bring us to the end of our time together. I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of the stuff that we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Blessing.